Hey everybody, what's happening? So, I love technology. It's pretty sweet. I've done this recording now. This is my third time doing this recording, and I just have to say this because I'm so frustrated because I just figured out that it wasn't plugged in. I didn't have the cords plugged in, so I've been doing this for the third time. So stay with me, all right? Here's what we got. We're going to do a little bit of talk about Christianity, and then we're going to do a little bit about the fall of Rome. And we're going to end this whole unit on Rome toot sweet. Okay? So, here's the deal. Christianity. We all know Jesus started it. Jesus dies pretty much at the hands of the Roman official Pontius Pilate, who was persuaded by some of the Jewish people in the area not wanting to cause any trouble. So that all happens. I think the biggest thing is, as far as being historians, like we all are, is that the idea of how Christianity is now going to evolve over the next 3, 4, 5, 600 years. All right? And it's so easy for us to just think that, like, well, Jesus died, everybody starts going to church, following Jesus, and then, whoop, here we go. And that's not the case. Paul is going to come as a Roman official to eliminate the remaining Christians out of the city of Damascus, somewhere around 100 CE, and is spoken to by an angel according to him, and he converts on the spot, and he starts to move around the Roman Empire, because he's a Roman official in that, he starts to move around the empire and set up missionaries. He starts converting people, all the rest, and it starts to grow slowly. However, most Romans still view Christianity as a weird, crazy cult that not a lot of people like, and as a result, boy, do things get nasty. All right, emperors burn, half of Rome down and blame it on the Christians. Feeding Christians to the lions, in Rome, and having them put in the gladiator events to be killed, and all types of crazy things are done. They have to worship in secrecy. There are no churches. There's no Bible at this time. And so for the first 300 years until the Edict of Milan by Constantine, Christians are afraid for their safety. And so as a result, it's so important to just realize that there's a 300-year gap between any formal religious organization occurring in the Catholic Church until Constantine issues the Edict of Milan and protects it. And at that point, Constantine starts to set up councils and meetings and conventions and all the rest, as well as the Emperor Theodosius, who in like 380 adopts Christianity as the official religion of Rome. Do things really not start to get organized? So imagine the Bible wasn't put together really for 300 years. The idea of Luke and Mark and Paul and I can't even think of the next guy, Matthew. Those Gospels put down by those to speak about Jesus' life weren't really put together until 300-400 CE. And at that point, you had emperors, you had religious officials, all kind of weighing in at these big conferences, and they're saying, well, this is good, well, this isn't good, we'll put this in, take this out, I don't know if this is true, but go ahead, throw it in anyways. And so you have hundreds of people having say in what's in the Bible, how should the church be organized, what's the calendar, when should things be celebrated when they shouldn't, and there's all of these debates over this and fighting. And so some of it is as politically put together as it is religiously. So I think it's just important that as you look at Christianity, you have to understand the idea that it wasn't like Christ was born, Christ died, Christ rose up to heaven, and then all of a sudden there was a Bible by the nightstand and churches on every corner, and everything was hunky-dory. It took a long, long, long time for Christianity to get to a point to where it was stable. And one of the things that occurred was that, even in the beginning, they had 5 what they called patriarchs, or popes, of Christianity. And the one in Rome was the main one, but then there was one in Constantinople, one in Antioch, one in Jerusalem, one in Alexandria, and they all had a say. And you know what powerful, unfortunately powerful men in this situation, because women were not allowed to be actively involved within the Christian church. They all claimed power and knowledge and doing things kind of in their own way, in their own areas. So Christianity is really going to have to get through a ton before it gets to the place that we know it as. Now, with that being said, let's go to the fall of Rome. All right? And when you take a look at the notes, you'll see that, Rome is going to have some crazy emperors. They do some weird things, all right? And they had, like in this time period up here from 235 to 284, which is like 50 years, they have a crazy number of emperors that seize power, kill them, take over, then somebody kills them and overthrows that. And you have an average emperor span of like 2-3 years tops. And you're supposed to have these guys for a good chunk of their lives. It's supposed to be stable for 30, 40 years sometimes. And it doesn't happen, unfortunately. And Rome is going to start to decay. And at this point, Diocletian in 280 said that the territory was too large and that Rome had to be split up into 2 parts. An eastern part here in purple and a western part here in the west. Then, in like 300, 20, 30 years later, Constantine says, you know what? This area over here is doing better than this area, so I'm going to move the capital and name it Constantinople. He does it, and it's going to take its toll. From about this time, around 315, 330 CE, this part of Rome for the next 150 years is going to go through a gradual decline. And all of the people that are living in this area here, these Huns and Germanic tribes, all start to invade. And they try to invade here, but they've got all the money, all the resources, everything's going better here, and they're able to hold this border. These guys, on the other hand, do not. And they crumble. By 450 CE, Western Rome, the orange part, is done. There is no more Roman government at all in these territories here. And this is what's going to become of the Middle Ages. All of this is going to be people wallowing around in mud. It's going to be a crap fest of just no learning, no government, very, very little of anything taking place until about 1000 CE, when they start to slowly climb out of it. But the greatness of Rome here is done by about 450 CE. This purple part will live on, and historians will refer to it as Byzantium, and that will prosper until like 1450 CE. So almost to the point about 50 years, it'll collapse 50 years before Columbus sails the ocean blue. So, and discovers America. So this one's going to go on for another 1,000 years. So, and we'll be talking about that in a little while. But for right now, this is it. Everybody, the end of Rome has come. It is no more. I bid you adieu. Adios, muchachos.